basically the interview wants to know, out of the many, like say 10, 15 things listed on the resume, what is the thing that you're maybe proud of the most, or what was more challenging out of those.
Okay.
For example, you worked on 5 projects during your career or your school time, but out of those like 5 projects, there might be one particular project which was more challenging than others. It could be due to a number of reasons. You might have listed the technology or what problem you solve, but the actual, the full cycle of the software development is something that only you went through. So it is important to keep a calm mind, because like as a speaker, you want to be aware and be in the moment and not overthink things. So first, I think that is something that comes with practice as well. But also like consciously thinking about not panicking if something goes wrong, especially with respect to the hardware. The essence of community and kicking off like Laracon before that itself, getting into that mode is really interesting.
That's really great. And you have experience of amazing conferences. And since Laracon India is happening in India, obviously it's Laracon India is happening first time ever. So what your expectation from this kind of conference against the conferences you have ever speaked and attend in the past?
Yes, so Laracon India, firstly, it is very close to heart because it is right at home in India. I think that is like the cherry on top of the cake. Also, I think this is like happening first time in Asia, and it is like happening as the biggest Laracon that's happening. I look forward to firstly seeing the power of the ecosystem and also sharing it with the world. Like we have a very strong ecosystem of developers in India, of great startups, of great products being built, and having everybody under one roof together, I think that energy will be unbeatable. So I think that is what would set it like apart. And
exactly. So obviously the energy has to be high because we have Vishal Bhai in our team. So wherever Vishal Bhai is there, the energy has to be 3x, 4x, 10x. So that's really exciting. Yes, you said that it's really amazing that it is happening in India. And right now, the biggest traffic on Laravel documentation is coming from India. So obviously, it has to be the biggest Laracon ever.
Yes, agreed completely.
Yes. So, Drishti, you are going to speak on this Laracon India. You are one of the speakers. So, how that came into your life? Like when you thought that I also want to speak. When you submitted your talk, I'm not asking for the talk title and what you are going to speak, but tell me about the journey and how that came. How you know about the Laracon India?
Okay, so specific to Laracon India, I was honestly I was casually browsing on Twitter, and somebody in my network liked Laracon India post that we are coming as an in-person conference this year, something that was not possible earlier because of COVID. It was remote, so it just popped up on my feed, and I was like, okay, I am reading this right. It is Laracon IN India, right? So then I went to the page and I was like, oh wow, this is great. And I just turned on the notifications. It, I think, happened very organically. I got to know once like the process had started. And I actually was interested in a couple of topics. And then I got reached out by the organizers that, we think that this topic would be more of a great fit in the current lineup that we had. And would you be open to speaking?
So when you got to know that you are selected or your talk is selected, what was your like excitement level?
Yeah, my reaction was like, oh, this is really great. I get to share about things that I'm working on and things that I'm passionate about with the community and interacting with so many great people. I was like very, very happy.
So let's get back to your coding days when you have started your journey in coding. So tell me about that, because obviously if you are going to speak, you have amazing knowledge. And I just want to know that how you got all these amazing knowledge from your life, from your career. So from when like coding started in your life?
Okay, so coding actually started back in my school days. So in my school, we had coding as like a subject, and actually during one of our like our annual events that happens in schools, there was something unique that everybody was creating. Some people were participating in some performances and all of that. I was always into oratory, so I was hosting that performance as well. But I thought, why don't I do something different this year? And at that time, Q Basic was the thing, like that was being taught to us. So then I created a quiz in Q Basic for all the
In which year?
I must be in my 6th or 7th grade, like at that time.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So this is really from your childhood, I can say.
Yes, from my school days. Yes. So I then created like a quiz which had like sounds and everything, and at that time, yeah, at that time, things were not that easily accessible. So I used to like sit back in my computer lab and search how do I add sound if somebody gets a right answer, a wrong answer, how does that calculation happens. And then for the whole day I had a leaderboard. So that is where it like actually started, and that got me interested into coding. Then I completed my bachelor's in computer engineering. So I continued my passion, and then I am a 2019 graduate from my engineering. And then so I have been working in the industry now, and that is also into software development. So yeah, it's something that was like started back in 6th, 7th grade, and then I found that is to be like my passion, and I'm continuing it.
From where you completed your engineering?
So I studied from Cummins College of Engineering, based out in Pune.
Wow, Pune. I know from Pune, the talent is really amazing, especially the IT talent. I think like in Bangalore, people are from outside of India, but in Pune, we have like Pune people are really into that IT world. Yes. So I really like that. Okay, so after this, like you got into the coding, and then now you are working in an amazing company. So you have spoken on different conferences across the globe, I can say. So just tell me about that experience, and when was your first talk you have given? Okay. So my first talk actually was at a Pi Ladies event in Pune. Pi Ladies is a Python, like a Python organization which encourages women to learn Python and get into coding. So that was the first like workshop that I had conducted. I think it was back in around 2015-16, around that time. Oh wow!
I'm not sure of the exact date. I have a short clip on my YouTube channel though, so I can maybe refer that back. But that was the first time. Please. Then my first international speaking opportunity that I got selected for was in January of 2019. And it was at a conference called Geek Camp in the Microsoft headquarters in APAC, so in Singapore.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
And that is how it started.
Is it like it was related to PHP or Python? So
that was related to Python. But interestingly, Singapore as well has a great ecosystem of developers. And I had the chance to attend Singapore PHP conference back in 2018 October. I got selected as a scholar, and I flew there. I attended the conference, got into the PHP world. And actually, there was a great panel discussion. I got to meet like Rasmus, Derek, Sebastian, so like the creators of PHP, PHP unit, and Xdebug.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes. And we know about it. Whenever you run the PHP unit, the Sebastian comes.
Yes. So I met all these like great dignitaries, like the people who created firstly, like Rasmus created PHP, and then everybody like Xdebug and PHP unit. And I got to know about them. I got to interact being a scholar one-on-one and everything. And once I got to know about the community in Singapore, I thought that I have so many things that I'm doing back home. So before this, during college, I did a lot of app development as well. So I was a Google scholar, a Goldman Sachs scholar. So I did a lot of things in tech, and also helping out the local communities.
Right.
And then
that's really great.
Once I landed in Singapore, attended the conference, I got to know about the conference world. Like there's such a big world out there. And I was still a student, so things were like very new to me, and I wanted to try out things. And then I applied, and I got invited for the conference in January. And it just started from there. Then I've like spoken at many places. The furthest that I've traveled to, interestingly, is Brazil. So that was an interesting experience as well.
So is it that easy to like go for any international conference? You just have to apply and you got selected. Is it that easy? Anyone can do that?
Easy in the sense, I would say that if somebody is really passionate and has enough contributions and has enough like knowledge on the topic, and if the more you interact with people in conferences, generally you find other conference organizers in the conference, and it mainly is like a domino effect. Once you are able to showcase like the things that you're doing, and I think it is important to go in depth of topics as well and not keep it on the surface. Because people looking the amount of hours, the amount of nights I've put in to get to the place that I am is tremendous, because I wanted to achieve a lot of things in a shorter time. So it isn't easy for sure. It is a lot of hard work. And but yes, I think tech is a place where if you are passionate enough, if you have put in the hard work enough, it is a rewarding field. There's no other bias out there.
So you said like if you work hard, if you go in depth of your topic, then you get chance. Or obviously if you have to interact with people. But I just like curious about how you prepared for your first talk and what was that experience?
Okay, yes. That is an interesting question. So the first talk, especially it being an international talk, I was still a student back then. So I had like all the jitters that a person could have, I'm a student, I'm going to be speaking at like the venue was Microsoft headquarters, APAC. So it was a big venue. The conference was pretty big as well, called Geek Camp. And every other speaker in the lineup was like a lot more experienced than me, like having 10 years of experience, 15 years of experience in the industry. And similarly was going to be the audience pool. And there's always a Q&A generally after a talk. So my knowledge of my topic, even though it was very much in depth, I was more concerned about like, what if I get a question on something that I don't know? And because I don't have that breadth of experience at that time,
obviously.
So like, what do I do? Or what is something that is happening like very recent? Because people are interested in the recent things and how am I using it? It was great that I was already using it in my project for some time. So it was a tool that I was already using. So I knew the tool in and out. And I had applied it many places. So I just went back to all of my previous code and understood that, if there's something I'm missing out or what were like interesting things that I learned, and I had to go through the learning curve, but I can share it in my talk so that somebody else is able to like ramp up very quickly. So while preparing for the talk, I made sure that I took in these important points, that not just of the core technology concepts, but the key learnings that I had.
So suppose I'm a new person. I don't know much about how to prepare for a talk, how to apply for a talk. And let's take an example of Laracon India. What's your suggestion for a person who don't know much about how to prepare for the talk? So first, let's start with how to apply for the talk. Then if you got selected, if your topic got selected, then how you prepare for the talk. And obviously to apply, how do I get a topic which should be that appealing?
Okay, that's many questions, but let me answer it one by one.
Sure. Yeah. I will remind you if you forget.
Yes, sure. So firstly about like, how do you apply or how do you get to know? So if there is a conference, say taking the example of Laracon India. So like I shared, like once I got to know that Laracon India was going to happen, I simply, it is a simple step which is ignored by many. I just turned on like the notifications on Twitter, because out of like the hundreds of accounts that any user follows, then how do you get to know about a dedicated post about a particular account? Like it might get mixed up in the number of tweets that are there in your feed. So generally conferences tend to post on their Twitter handles or other social media platforms that, they're opening a call for speakers out there, and they generally post the link there itself. So that is how a person gets to know about the opportunity for conferences like Laracon.
So this is how I get to know that there is a conference, and now they have opened the call for a speaker, which is CFC.
Yes.
So I really want to speak at Laracon India, but I don't know what should I speak on. So how can I come up with a topic?
Okay, so generally, I think even in the form of Laracon India, there are generally some suggested topics. So it might be possible that a conference has a particular theme for the year, and if the work that you have done falls into that theme, then your chances of having that topic to be relevant to the conference also increases. Because I think as an as a person who's applying, it is important to know that there might be instances wherein the conference might have a particular theme for that particular year, because every conference keeps on happening for multiple years, and they also don't tend to they don't want it to be a repetitive thing, because as somebody who's attending, they would not want to hear the same topic every time.
Exactly.
So I think that is the conference organization team that decides about that. And they generally post it that if they have a particular theme, or what are the core topics that they got a feedback from attendees last time who want to hear that topic. So they generally tend to list those topics that are there. And
so this is good. So next step is, if I have to find what topic I can speak on, I need to understand what is the theme of the conference is, how they want to present this year the talks. So maybe I can communicate with the organizers, like, hey, I want to speak, what are your theme, what are the topics you want in this year conference. And then if that falls into my knowledge and my experience, I can obviously come up originally with a new idea. Topic. Okay, that's really good. The second step is done. So now suppose I got the topic, I have applied, and my talk is selected. How do I now prepare for the talk? So coming up with the title of the talk and really preparing a 40-minute talk is a totally different thing. So how do I do that?
Yes, that is very true. So preparing for the talk and creating your talk content is very crucial. Like right from preparing the slides, to have a gist of what you're going to speak, and also because you're going because the speaker is going to be on the stage. So the speaker also has to make sure of everything that they're doing. Like firstly, the first and important thing is to mentally be prepared of any technical glitches that might happen on stage.
That's true.
So because that is a reality that we live in. There might be some technical glitch, and it could be related to nothing, like not the speaker's hardware software, not the conference venue's hardware software integration, nothing. It could just happen, but being prepared for it at that moment is very important. So it is important to keep a calm mind, because you want, as a speaker, you want to be aware and be in the moment and not overthink things. So first, I think that is something that comes with practice as well. But also consciously thinking about not panicking if something goes wrong, especially with respect to the hardware. That the speaker is able to handle it at the moment. Like you should be able to think that, how do I fix this? Then when you're preparing the pre-part of the conference, so the slides, firstly, there are many tips of making great presentations. Two key things that maybe I could share. One is to not have too many slides. Because if it is a 40-minute talk, and if somebody thinks I'll spend half a minute on a talk and keeps 80 slides. So imagine the speaker is going to spend time just clicking on the slides, which is a bad idea. So instead, keeping slides to be short, and people are here to speak, people are here to listen about you, as a speaker. So what the speaker has to say about the topic, because the topic, they can find documentation and go through tutorials. But what makes a conference unique as compared to reading documentation only is understanding the key points, or what the learnings of the speaker was about using that technology or framework or a particular application that they were able to use it. So creating good content is very important, and that gets reflected a lot based on the number of slides a person is making. And then along with the number is the quality of the slides. So it should be able to grab the attention of a audience member. Because I think what I do is think from the perspective of the audience member. They are going to sit there for 40 minutes and sit at a particular place and just look at the speaker and try to understand. So there should be something that should, after some intervals, be able to grab the audience attention. So including things like that in your slides or in the content that you're delivering, so that people are engrossed and engaged. Creating an engaging presentation, I think, is equally important.
Amazing, Drishti. These three things is the key. I can say yes, the key point of an amazing presentation. One is prepare for anything. I'm not just saying the technical glitch. I'm saying like prepare for anything.
Yes.
Second, you said like don't fill up your presentation with lots of slides. Keep your slides engaging. I think the slides are not for the audience. Slides is for the speakers.
Yes.
So you have to see that if you are putting a slide, that should help you to explain more, which you cannot explain in words. So that's why the slides are important, and that's why we don't want too many slides, because if there is too many slides, people will get distracted from you. So the central point should always be the speaker.
Yes.
Great.
And also, I think like the slides serve as a purpose for the speaker to know that, they are also on time, because that is very important in a talk. So that you have like checkpoints that, okay, now you're on this slide. So kind of in this much time, you should have reached here. So to keep a track of time. And I think that is also a like hidden purpose that like slides serve.
Okay, so now let's move to something amazing which you are doing apart from this job, apart from the conferences. Tell me about that, and then we will talk more about it.
Okay, so apart from this, so being somebody who has won many scholarships in college, be tech related, fintech related, being a part of a lot of student clubs. I was actually also the best outgoing student of my college. So doing well in academics, as well as grabbing like a dream campus placement. I also wanted to give back and bring out all these opportunities to current students as well as young professionals. And be it in the form of helping them with their resume preparation, or how do they have a interesting LinkedIn profile, or how do they prepare for interviews, for opportunities that come knocking on their door, but because of not being a lot prepared for it, they're not able to crack it. So my initiative called Skill Up with Drishti is what I'm helping. I'm aiming to use this to help young professionals, mid-career professionals, and students as well to come into the tech industry and like take it by storm, use their knowledge, create an impact, and reach the dream places that they wish to be. So currently I have like anybody could reach out to me over LinkedIn. I have a Google Maps link as well of the place. So it is offline as well as online. Generally, people tend to use the online way of communicating because it fits in well with people's schedule. And right from even career guidance. So say somebody is still figuring out or changing fields from say mechanical or civil into tech. They want to harness the power of tech, or maybe during college they were pursuing a mechanical or civil degree, but actually they were more inclined towards tech, and now they want to take it up as a full-time career. So how do they make that transition? Would some technical certifications help them, or how do they learn? From where do they learn, and how do they crack those interviews?
So that's really powerful, Drishti. Tell me about more about this. Like if I'm a non-tech person and I want to get into tech, should I just directly DM you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I think that is a great way. DM me over LinkedIn, Twitter. I also have a Instagram handle by the name of Geeky Earthian.
Nice.
Because I find that I'm somebody who's geeky, and I'm also preparing for the future, wherein maybe if we find alien species, so I'm an Earthian. Like just we say I'm an like Indian based on the nationality, I'm an Earthian based on my planet. So I'm a geeky Earthian. So @Geeky Earthian is as
that's really thoughtful name. Geeky Earthian. Okay, so I'm a newbie and I just want to land into tech. I DM'd you.
Yes.
And then what you are going to, what kind of information you need from me, and what you will going to suggest me to get into the tech?
Okay, so say if you are a complete newbie into tech, I would firstly like to know the background, because a person can fall into two categories. One would be the person is still a student and maybe is pursuing a degree related to tech or not related to tech. That will give me an interesting insight about the person and kind of the background that they have. And then based on what they can do, if they are in tech, if they can harness a particular skill, they already have a field of interest, be it front end, back end, full stack, or they are into the machine learning space or into the data science space, and what is it that they're looking to get into. If somebody is a student and is, say, from a non-technical background, then I would like to understand more about what is it that interests them, or are they completely new to this, or have they tried out something which intrigued their interest. And if there's somebody who's not a student, a young professional, then what has the previous background been? How can that help the person itself to, elevate their career? Because I'm a strong believer in the past experience that a person has actually helps a lot when the person transitions into tech as well. Because that brings a diversity of experience, a diversity of thought in looking at things. Because as developers in technology, at the core, we are trying to solve problems. As simple as that. So our previous knowledge helps us in solving problems. And coding is a means in which we are able to do that. So how can that person's previous experience be very useful in order for them to scale up in tech? So once I receive a DM, I would interact with them, maybe hop on a one-on-one connect session and take it from there. If it is a mentoring type thing that they're looking for, or a career guidance, or maybe even something specific as, I have my interview coming up in 30 days for an international opportunity, and I want to get a mock interview from you, get feedback. How should I talk about both technical, behavioral rounds? Because mainly they're focused on technical. So in technical as well, a person should be able to communicate tech, the things that they're, data and system design interviews and like code development interviews, or even algorithms interviews. So having that mock interview feedback, and then it just falls into place.
Right. So talking about the interviews, so people learn new things in tech, even coding and whatever different fields we have, but they get the skill, but they didn't find the job. So what's your suggestion, like how to find a job and how to prepare yourself for an interview? Because preparing for an interview is, I believe, has to be the very important thing, or I can say very important part of getting a job.
Yes.
What's your thought on it?
Yes, no. So I would second that. Like preparing for the interview, like I would completely agree to that. That preparing for the interview is very crucial, because a person would have the skills, and the person might get an opportunity as well. But many times people are not prepared for the interview. They think that because they were able to develop a great application, solve a complex problem, that they should be eligible for the job. But a person needs to understand that in a work setting, there are many things along with the technology aspect that come into place. You should be able to communicate with the stakeholders. A person should be able to understand the requirements that are there. So the interviews basically are around assessing these qualities through indirect questions. An interviewer would never ask, how would you interact with stakeholders? That is a very redundant question. Instead, they would have a sample problem, or they would ask something very different in technical aspect, and try to understand the way you are thinking, or what questions would you ask, or what questions would you seek from the interviewer itself. That kind of gives an insight to the interviewer. So preparing for the interview from the perspective of for an interview, and not just polishing your technical skills, is very important.
Okay, so I have given a lot of interview and always I failed. But the one question which I am really got nervous and it really irritates me, which is like, tell me about yourself. Oh, why I have given the resume to you. Everything is there. Why you are asking me? Tell me about yourself. So can you give me a idea what is this question and what interviewer want to hear and want to know if they have all the information in the resume? So what is the purpose of this question?
Okay, so tell me about yourself, right? It seems to be such a simple topic. Now, to answer this question, let me take you a little back. Imagine you're in a family setting. You have like your family, your extended family. Everybody's there for some family gathering, or just an event. And how do you interact with them, right? They know everything about you. So paralleling it to the company has your resume. So they know things about you. But still, the family would like to know about what you're doing in your life right now, right? or they would
Okay.
like to know in your own words of what are you doing. Your parents might have told your relatives, for example, my kid is pursuing a particular degree, or he was able to accomplish this, or he is
Yes.
now trying out a particular startup, and these are his obstacles that he's facing.
But even after that, the
Yeah.
relative will ask you what you
Yes.
do.
Yes, right. So there is an answer that you give there. So what
Okay.
that brings is the human sense in your answer. Something coming from your parents and something coming from you is very different, because you are the person talking about yourself. Similarly, in an interview setting, when an interviewer asks about, tell me about yourself, basically the interview wants to know, out of the many, like say 10, 15 things listed on the resume, what is the thing that you're maybe proud of the most, or what was more challenging out of those.
Okay.
For example, you worked on 5 projects during your career or your school time, but out of those like 5 projects, there might be one particular project which was more challenging than others. It could be due to a number of reasons. You might have listed the technology or what problem you solve, but the actual, the full cycle of the software development is something that only you went through, and that is what the interviewer is trying to understand, and is trying to get from an interviewee about times or more things that the interviewee is more proud of or would like to share about more.
Okay, so this means like if someone asks like, Sarthak, tell me about yourself. Obviously, I have to start from my name and
Yes,
what
your
I do, but
credentials and all. Yeah.
but I have to focus on the things which I really proud of, I am confident about,
Yes.
so that they can verify it from my confidence that whatever I am saying, I will do with 100%.
Yes.
So this is the reason.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes, and also kind of they also get to verify what you have written on your resume, because fortunately or unfortunately, some people tend to expand upon things that they have not actually done it in depth, and maybe they just tried a basic program in a particular language and they would add it to their knowledge of advanced knowledge in this particular programming language. But through the interview, the interview is trying to understand actually what was the depth in which you did things of the resume that a person has listed on the resume. Also, an interesting tip that I generally give to a lot of people who are connected with me through Skill Up with Drishti is, this is the interviewer's chance to turn the interview in the way that we want it to go. Imagine you pick up the project that you're most passionate about, and that is something that you have worked more on as compared to the 5 projects listed. So once you explain that project to the interviewer also gets interest. And then they would ask the follow-up questions based on these projects. So imagine now the tables have turned. Kind of you have taken the interview in the direction that you were more comfortable in. That was your expertise area. So this is like a hidden question. There are a ton of hidden questions like this. And this is a great tip for anybody who's listening to us on this podcast as well. That, this is your chance to highlight your strength.
I never have thought this way of this part of the interview. Like, yeah, that's really powerful thing. If interviewer is giving you the liberty, tell me about yourself. Now it's up to you how you want to start your interview, which direction you want to give to the interview. And it's not ball is in your court.
Yes.
Do it what you want.
Yes.
Wow. Yes. Now this question suddenly excites me.
And you must have realized that this is such a crucial question, right? It seems simple that, tell me about yourself. And people tend to actually not prepare for this question. But actually, this is like the starting point. Like just we say, first impression is your last impression. Kind of, this is the first question of every interview, every kind of job role that a person goes for. Like you also, I saw your reaction that, your perspective of the reason of why a particular question is asked, say during interviews, about cracking interviews, or completely changed. And I think that is my aim as well. So I was happy to be sharing a few of the things during this podcast as well. And yes, it is there for a longer conversation during the conference. Excited to meet you as well during Laracon India. Yeah.
So great. Yeah. So what is the future technology you are super excited about?
Okay, so the future technology that I'm super excited about is the more deep dive of integrating AI ML with IoT. Because
Okay.
IoT is revolutionary, but it kind of took a step back with the great resources we had of GPUs for computing AI and ML models. And I think when both of these are integrated in the near future, I think it would create revolutionary products and it would like solve like real world problems. So I'm really looking forward to
Wow.
that.
Wow, Drishti, I can say like your perspective of seeing things is really out of the world. I have interviewed many people, and people say like, "Hey, AI is a good thing," and Chat GPT or something which is in trend. But your answer is really, I can say, practical. So yes, IoT is the next big thing. But if you combine IoT with the AI, it will really change the world which we want.
Yes, and it will change the world for good, is what I'm hoping.
Right.
Solving tons of problems for us.
That's really great. So Drishti, so we can finish this podcast by saying like from where people can start interacting with you. Tell me your Insta or Twitter username so that people can just interact.
Yeah. So on Instagram, everybody can find me as Kiki Earthian, GeekyEarthian. Or on Twitter, my DMs are open. It is Drishti J Jain. So DrishtiJain. Yes, that's a double J.
Nice.
And yeah, my LinkedIn is also open. So it's as Drishti Jain. You can find me there.
Okay, I will put all the links in the show notes so that if people want, just they can click and DM you.
Yes, and also I'd like to add, I also have a YouTube channel that I'm also helping out by bringing stories of startups onto my YouTube channel through podcasts, and also trying to share a lot of like interview prep material or how do you crack interviews over there.
Great.
It has just started, so maybe after Laracon and all, I'll have some time to add on more content to it. So people can find me there as well.
Sure, that's really great. So thank you, Drishti, for your time once again, and see you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was great interacting with you, Sarthak, and thanks for doing this podcast related to Laracon India. I think for the speakers as well that you're conducting the podcast with, and for the attendees as well, I think everybody gets a good glimpse before the conference, and I think all us as speakers are going to be bombarded with a ton of questions with attendees listening to our podcast. So that is going to be a great networking boost during the conference. So yeah, thanks for that.